Donna Mills, it is lovely to see you again, and might I say, looking absolutely terrific.
Thank you very much.
I know that you are an avid tennis player, and I know that you love hiking, so, they're probably some of the secrets.
And because I started out as a dancer, I have a, workout discipline that I think is good for me, keeps me, going, keeps me together.
Well, speaking of that, as a dancer, you were born in Chicago, and that's kind of how showbiz started for you, wasn't it?
Yep, absolutely. And I started dance lessons when I was about 5 and just loved it. It became, my life. And I went to a teacher who had a studio in her home. And so we would, have class down in the studio downstairs and then go upstairs into her library and her den and everything up there and listen to classical music. I mean, here's this 5-year-old listening to classical music and learning a little bit of French because that's what most of the dance lingo is in. So it was an unusual upbringing, but I loved it.
There weren't too many opportunities at that point in time for dancers in Chicago. So I think it was about 1963, and along comes a wonderful Neil Simon play called Come Blow Your Horn.
That was at the Drury Lane Theater. And I went and auditioned for it, and never thinking that I would get it, just because there wasn't any dance things to audition for, and I did get it. It was odd at the time, but kind of set me off on a different path. I thought acting was kind of boring before that, during rehearsals and everything. I mean, it was okay, but it didn't have the movement, the involvement that dance had for me until the laughs came. Until I heard those laughs. Once I heard those laughs, I was hooked. That was it. I went, oh, yeah, that feels good. I'm receiving something back for what I'm giving out. That's never ceased to be exciting for me. I ended up doing more film work than stage work just because I'm out here in Hollywood. That's basically what happens here. But actually about 4 years ago or so, I did Driving Miss Daisy in Burbank. And that was a bit of a risk because I hadn't done theater in a long time. And there's 3 people on the stage. But it went very, very well received. And I loved doing it. Scared to death.
When you're on stage, there's really no safety net if it's only the 3 of you. And unlike television and the movies, there's no retakes.
Yep, absolutely. And, you have to trust your fellow actors a great deal. They have to trust you. Any actor can kind of like go up or get lost or something in the middle of it. And, it's up to the other actors to kind of bring them back and put them on the right path again. So, everybody's working together, but it's a lovely feeling, and it's a camaraderie that you don't find in any other medium. That kind of trust that would have to happen.
Very true. Let me take you to 1966, and you make your TV acting debut on a soap opera called The Secret Storm, and you were a nightclub singer by the name of Rocket. Tell me about that show as you recall it.
Why they ever cast me, I have no idea. I mean, I had to sing, and I was a dancer, and dancers are notoriously bad singers. That's the way it works usually. But I actually sang on that show. I don't know if there's any videotape. Somebody did send me a scene from the show, but not of me singing. So if there is any out there and somebody knows, send it to me. I'd love to see it.
Am I right in remembering, Donna, that The Secret Storm was that series that famously starred Joan Crawford's daughter, Christina Crawford, and Christina got very sick and needed emergency surgery, and her mother, Joan Crawford, took over that role for a little while.
I remember sitting in the makeup room and in the next chair from Joan Crawford, thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I even going to say to her? You know, and she was very nice. She was kind of queen-like. You know, she had an aura about her that was just amazing. But she was nice, and she was nice to all the other actors on the show and stuff like that. So that was a real plus to even doing that show and to get to work with her.
And for people who don't know the sort of backstory to that rather odd situation in terms of Joan taking over from her daughter Christina. Christina was about 28 and Joan was about 63. So it could be seen as a little stretch of the imagination, to say the least. But it was the fact that she didn't want her daughter to lose the job. So that's why she offered to step in and take over that role until Christina got herself better and then resumed on that series.
Well, she was Joan Crawford, you know, I mean, that was, and she didn't even have to act queen-like. It just was an aura around her. It was a great experience, you know, one that was totally unique.
Now, you also had, I'm assuming, the absolute thrill of working on Broadway in a Woody Allen play called Don't Drink the Water, which was a political farce. What was the Woody Allen like that you got to know?
In that show, I played the Sultan's wife with a total burqa kind of thing on and a veil across my face. All you ever saw were my eyes, and I had no lines. But I understudied Bianca. So, you know, that was basically why they combined those two things. And I was with it from the very beginning. So I was on the road with it before we opened in New York. And Woody didn't communicate with the actors in the show that much. I think the lead actors, yes, but not the lesser actors. And so I never got to know him very well. You know, it was like God was coming. When he was going to come to the theater, it was like everybody was like, oh.
You were one of the original stars of a daytime drama called Love is a Many-Splendored Thing, which, of course, was a spin-off of the very famous Jennifer Jones, William Holden movie. Do you have fond memories of making that series?
Even that was a very big deal for CBS, but putting a new one on the air was huge. So we got treated like royalty. Everything was really well done. And it ended up, there was the Eurasian girl who was supposed to be the lead, as it was in the movie, that didn't work as well as the two sisters, played by me and Leslie Charlson. So that storyline kind of took over everything, and I think it was on the show 2 years. And I think I only signed for a year, and then since our storyline was doing so well, they wanted to bring me back. And that was when I made the deal. And I went to Leslie and I said, if the two of us make the deal, we'll make the deal, because they need both of us. They could maybe do without either one of us, but they can't do without us both. So I said, if we're going to sign a contract again to come back, we have to have guaranteed nighttime shows, guest shots on nighttime shows, a lot more money, you know, a lot of stuff. And they were kind of like, okay, because our story was so popular. And so we both did very well out of that. And that was how I got Play Misty on.
Because you think about Play Misty, for me, one of the great thrillers of the 70s with Clint Eastwood. I read somewhere that it was Burt Reynolds that kind of had a hand in helping you get that role of Clint's girlfriend in Play Misty for me.
That's what I mean about that it was the soap opera deal that did it. In that deal, one of the things was that I would go out to do nighttime guest shots. One of the guest shots that I did was on Dan August. You know, it was great. I had a great time with him. I loved him. He's really wonderful to work with. not long after I got back from doing that guest shot, I got a call from my agent saying,
You got this movie with Clint Eastwood.
I never met him. I never auditioned. Well, he ran into Burt at the bar one night and said, I'm looking for this girl for my movie. I can't find anybody I like.
And Burt said, I just worked with this girl from New York. You might like her. Showed him the dailies.
And he hired me right from that.
And I mean, the role that you had in that, Donna, was pivotal. And of course, it was his directing debut as well. What was he like to work with, both as a co-star like that, but also as a director?
He was a really interesting director. He knew exactly what he wanted in each and every scene that we did. So there wasn't a lot of takes. He wasn't an actor's director. He wasn't going to coach out of you something that he wanted in a scene or didn't see or whatever. He hired the actors that he thought could do the role and then let them kind of take it from there. But he knew exactly what he wanted in every scene, and he ended that. I mean, we shot under budget and under time on his first movie. That's like an amazing feat. And he was great, just great. He knew when he got what he wanted.
When you're working with somebody like Clint Eastwood, was he fun? Was he easy? Was he talkative? Or was he really rather an introspective person? How would you sum him up?
No, he's very, very nice, very giving, very, really wonderful to work with and for, and also it was the team. It was everybody. He brought everybody together to work together, and that's how we did it. And I don't know if I ever told you the story before about the nude scene in the movie.
No, you didn't. Do tell.
When I accepted the role and read the script and blah, 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 there was no nude scene. And one day he came to my dressing room and he knocked on the door. He said, playing some a song. He played First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. I mean, I was blown away. It was a beautiful song. He said, it's not the script, but I want to do this montage thing where we're in a waterfall pond together, naked, and then we're making love on the floor of the forest and blah, blah. And I was like, oh, he said, I'll tell you what. He said, we'll shoot it. And I'll show it to you. If you think it's at all salacious or not what we want to have out there on you or whatever, I won't use it. He had enough respect for my feelings and my life, but he knew that he was going to make something very, very beautiful. And he did.
Yeah. And, of course, you were romantically involved on screen. Naturally, you was his girlfriend. And I think you rated him a AAA kisser, if I'm remembering correctly.
As I recall, he was.
Now, Jessica Walter was this obsessed fan. Your life was essentially made a living hell. She died back in 2021. Did you both keep in touch?
After playing Misty for me, I wanted to move out here. And I didn't, because everything had happened so fast and going into that movie that I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have anything. She said, well, I have a guest house. Come move into the guest house and, stay there until you find a place or whatever. So she was very sweet, very nice, and she really looked out for me because I was so green and so, not knowing what was going on. I loved her from the beginning to the end. I hadn't seen her in a number of years when she did pass away, and I was very, very sad.
You made a wonderful movie called The Incident with Beau Bridges and Martin Sheen, but, you think about one of the absolute all-time Hollywood greats, such a fabulous character actor. I'm talking about Thelma Ritter in that movie. What are your memories of working with Thelma? Because she was in everything and she was so fabulous in everything that she did.
I mean, I was just like blown away that I was going to get to work with her. And that movie had a lot of problems. Larry Pierce was the director. And we started to shoot about halfway through. They ran out of money. And he said, I've got to go out to Hollywood and try and raise some more money for this. We were shooting in New York. He said, please stay with me. Don't take another job for, as long as it takes me to get some more money, but I will get some more money and I'll be back. And everybody stayed on. People turned down other work, did all kinds of things, but everybody stayed on. We came back and we finished the movie. So that was another real wonderful show business, how great actors and directors and crews and everything else can work together. It truly was. It certainly set me up well for loving the business.
You got to work with Larry Hagman in 1971, playing husband and wife in a TV series called The Good Life. And back in those days, Larry Hagman was kind of a rather wild guy, drinking champagne, and Party Central was literally Larry Hagman's middle name.
He was the sweetest, nicest man ever. Every day on the set, his wife, Mai, who was a lovely woman, would make this hamper full of incredible food. She was a great cook. So she would bring all this and bottles of champagne. And every day they would have lunch and champagne. They would always invite me if I was working that day to come in and, have something to eat and have some champagne. And I said, I can't do the champagne. Thank you very much. I'll be asleep at 2:00 and that won't be good. But yeah, but everything, he would have people out to his house in Malibu, and, everybody would march down the beach behind him, singing and carrying on. I mean, he was just fun and funny, and really, he watched out for me too when I first came here. I had some really lucky and wonderful people that kind of kept an eye out for me, that a young woman in Hollywood, it can be kind of treacherous. And because of him, because of Jessica, I had people watching out for me, and I'm so grateful for that.
You made a movie in 1977 called Curse of the Black Widow with a fabulous cast: Patty Duke Aston, June Allison, June Lockhart, Sid Caesar. Great memories of working with those fabulous people, Donna?
Most of all, because I think I worked with her the most, Patty. She was just so much fun and funny and easygoing and lovely. We had a great time together. And we stayed friends for years afterwards. When you do movies like that, you like together for a month or two, depending on the movie. And then everybody that's why I hated the last day of shooting always, because you had to say goodbye. And you become so close, so fast, and work so well together. And it's a miracle that it happens that way, but it happens. And it was always hard for me to say goodbye to everyone. I hated that part.
You'd played so many kind of goody roles, or the damsel in distress, however you wish to frame it. And then along comes the opportunity to play Abby Cunningham in Knots Landing, that is a massive success. And you literally bugged your agent to get you an audition, didn't you? You were determined to get Abby.
I was in his office and, looking through the casting things, and I saw this role and I went, that's the role that I need. That's what I need to have. And, he called them right away when I was there. And I knew one of the producers. And they said, we don't need to see Donna. We like her. Well, we'll consider her. They see me in a very different way. They may say, oh, we know she can act and she can do this. But they didn't see me in that role.
So I bugged my agent. I kept on him until he bugged them enough. They said, okay, let her come in and read. It's okay. And I did. And then an hour later, after I left the reading, they called me and told me I had her.
Abby, she was villainous, she was bitchy, she was a man-eater, she was a schemer, she was a seductress. And they surely are the best roles of all, aren't they?
Absolutely. She wasn't a caricature. She wasn't just that. She had vulnerability. It made her a real character. She had depth, but I love the fact that you would never see her cry, and you would never see her be hurt until she was alone.
Brian Austin Green played your grown son, but through all of that, all of the bed hopping and those machinations and whatever else, she was a really good mom.
That was her main thing. She cared about her kids, and she loved them very much, and would do anything for them. So yes, and yeah, that gave her another dimension. You know, as an actor, you want to play characters that have dimension so that everything doesn't kind of become the same. And she had such dimension and such opposite parts of her that it was really fun to play.
You spent a lot of time in bed, didn't you, with Ted Shackelford? You two must have burst out laughing sometimes between takes or while you were waiting for the cameras to roll.
And he's a funny guy. He's a very funny guy. I saw him recently, as a matter of fact. And he's still funny. But yeah, we did. I mean, you know, he spent so much time in bed and in the shower. That he was supposed to be in the shower, and I was talking to him and of course he had a bathing suit. Then turn around, they would burst on me, and I'm not paying attention to what he's doing, and then the action, and I look, and he's naked.
Were there any storylines, Donna, for you, that even for you, knowing all that you'd played with Abby for those 9 seasons, were there any storylines that even you thought, oh, this is just too crazy, this is just too outrageous?
When Joan's babies were going to be stolen, the twins, at birth. And, we talked. David Jacobs, the creator and main producer on the show, was very good to the actors in that he let the actors participate in creating, which is one of the reasons that the characters were so good, because the actors had a lot of input into them. So I had heard that them babies were going to be stolen, and then somehow I heard, oh, then that lid's going to be heavy. And I went in here and I said, stop. No. Unless you don't want me on the show anymore. Unless you, want me off, don't do that. I said, because the audience will never forgive me for that. They'll forgive me for all the other, but they won't forgive me for that. And I don't think Abby would do that. Abby's a mother. She would not do that. So they listened to me. There was some talk that maybe she did it, but in the end, it ended up she didn't.
You got to work with the great Ava Gardner on Knots Landing. What was she like up close and personal?
She was such a broad. No pretenses about her at all. She drank a little still, and I think she always did. So that, into the afternoon was not sometime, I wouldn't say after 4 o'clock or something like that. Wasn't really too good. But before then, she was brilliant. And she, of course, I thought she looked fabulous. Still, the aura around her, everything. And she wasn't putting on airs or anything like that. She was just very down to earth, very nice. But yeah, you felt it. You felt that Hollywood loyalty.
She fell ill, didn't she, Donna, not long after she finished up on Knots Landing? Did you even get to see her before she passed away?
Me and Michelle and Joan, all of us wanted to go see her, and then she wouldn't see us. we tried very, just to let her know that we care and that we wanted to, support her and that, but she wouldn't see us. She didn't want anybody to see her. No.
Fair enough, I guess. Julie Harris, another of the great legends, a Broadway star and so many fabulous movies. She too was on Knots Landing, and you had a fair bit to do with her.
She remained a close friend all her life. I would see her. Sometimes she would be in New York when I was there. She was living there for a while. I would always see her, always get together with her. She was an amazing woman. Joan Van Ark, we remained very, very close with her and actually spelled a scholarship at Yale in her name.
You and Joan Van Ark and Michelle Lee remain great friends. You really did become kind of like soul sisters in a way, didn't you? Do you think there's any chance you might ever work together again? Because you all have such an extraordinary energy and work so well together.
Painters keep saying, why don't they reboot it? Why don't they, put it together and, you guys can all be on it, but you have grandchildren or whatever. And all of us would do it, of course. I'm giving them the storyline. Abby is homeless, and we watch her claw her way back up. So I don't know why nobody's taking me up on that, but
well, you got Joan Van Ark and Michelle Lee on board. I mean, heck.
Yeah, no, we're all good friends. We all care a great deal about each other, and and people who were fans of the show back then, they know it they know lines from scenes. They remember whole seasons. It's just amazing how really devoted they are, and it's very touching for me to hear, and all of us actors to hear how much it impacted their lives.
So for you, Donna, it was 9 seasons. Why did you leave? What was it that made you think, I'm kind of done with this now? Was it just wanting for another opportunity, or did you feel you were getting a little stale? Were the storylines becoming a bit too crazy? What was it that made you say, time out for this now?
I don't want the character to go downhill. You know what I mean? She was such a strong character, such a great character. I didn't want to see her start to, deteriorate. And so I just said, I have to leave while she's at the top. And that's what I do. And I had deals. I had a deal with ABC and CBS at the time to produce and star in my own movies for television. So I got right into that. I got very busy with that. So, but I missed Knots and missed the people and everything. But I just didn't want the character to be compromised.
1994, you did something absolutely joyous. You adopted a daughter, Chloe, 4 days old. What was it like to hold her in your arms for that first time?
It's something I will never, ever forget. I'll never forget the feeling of holding her. Probably the most joy I've ever had in my life was sitting with that baby girl on my chest and watching her to sleep at me. It was wonderful. She's getting married.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh, you're going to be mum of the bride. How exciting is that?
Yeah, I'm thrilled for her. Really lovely guy. And she's happy as a clam. She's planning the wedding. She loves to plan.
Well, of course, to be a mum, for those who don't know, for those who think, what happened to Donna Mills? She was everywhere and her career was so prolific and enjoyed the work you did, enjoyed by so many people, but you really did step away to focus on being a mum and giving Chloe your absolute all.
Most of the movies and even a lot of the series were done out of town. And so I wasn't going to go and leave her. Or, I did a couple of movies when she was an infant, when she was a baby, where I could take a nanny and go. And then she could be on the set with me. And that was lovely. But when she started school, and she started nursery school like 3, I wasn't going to eat for a couple of months at that time. I had just no way I was going to do that. So I kind of just stepped back from everything and had the most wonderful time just being a full-time mom, because being a mom is a full-time job. So I loved it. I got the best time.
Well, since 2001, you yourself have kind of found the man of your dreams. Very dapper, very handsome actor-producer Larry Gilman. How did you two meet?
I was doing representing a thing called Celebrex, which was a anti-inflammatory drug for arthritis. Because I have arthritis for years. Anyway, and they wanted to send me out on the road to do like morning shows and that around the country talking about this stuff. And they called me up and they said, well, we think we should have some media training. And I was like, I've done like hundreds of interviews. And they went, well, it's different when you're talking about a product, when you're presenting a product. And he was the trainer.
And all these years on, happy as clams you both are.
Yep, absolutely.
An amazing Donna Mills career fact. Your Chicago school friend, Jim Jacobs, who created Grease, I believe he created that Sandy character basically around you.
The model for Sandy, which I never knew until they did a biography of me on Lifetime and interviewed a fellow, Ron Napier, who I'd gone to kindergarten with and gone all through grade school and high school and everything. And they interviewed him for the biography. And it was him that said, oh, yeah, Jim Jacobs created the character Sandy after Donna. When I saw it, I went, really? I had no idea. So it was really a fun thing. And I vaguely remember Jim Jacobs, but I haven't spoken to him in forever. So, I've thought about trying to get in touch with him now and say, how did I influence that much? But I haven't yet.
Kind of makes sense because you look like Olivia Newton-John back then when she was playing Sandy in Grease on the big screen. It's very easy to see how you could have become the model for that particular character that he created.
Yeah, it's really funny. I mean, because it was such a huge hit.
I mean, you look at your career, it continues with great gusto. You won an Emmy Award for General Hospital. I'm sure, Donna, you've got a whole bunch of projects on the brew, most likely that you can't talk about at this point.
There's a number of things that are kind of, they may happen, they may not. It's kind of, that's what happens in this business. But you really know, this is a little bit slower after the strike, a little bit slower coming back than we thought it would be. So things are taking a little longer. But anyway, yes, there's a couple of things in the works.
I'm listening to you now, Donna, and you've got so many incredible stories. What about doing a memoir where you put your life between some covers? Because you're really one heck of an inspiration on many levels.
The main reason that I don't is because I know that what the publishers want is the dirt. Who'd she sleep with? That's what they want to know. And I'm not talking about that.
No, I get that.
But it takes a certain amount of discipline. It takes a certain amount of, being willing to not always have everything you want. So, it's just those kinds of things. But, and I would put that in a book if I felt like we could sell it, but I'm telling you what they want is the dirt.
And the good people in your life, you were talking about Jessica Walter, who had your back. You lived in her guest house, those really good things. Just how Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds were such inspirations to you.
With the help of a lot of really fine people, very, very fortunate to come across a lot of really good people. Many more good ones than that.
Donna Mills, it has been yet again a joy to chat to you. You're truly one of the nice people.
So are you. You're lovely.